In a world drenched in distractions, endless scrolls, flashing lights, hurried thoughts, how strange and how beautiful it is that you paused here. Not because you were curious, not because of mere chance, but because something eternal tugged at the thread of your soul. In the intricate dance between heaven and earth, there is a truth too often dismissed by the hurried soul. Divine interruptions are never accidents. We like to believe that life is linear, logical, and entirely within our control. We create schedules, routines, and plans to maintain a sense of order. But God is not limited to human calendars. He moves outside time, beyond the ticking of our clocks, and He steps into our days through what we often call coincidences. What the world labels as chance is often the gentle hand of God nudging us towards something greater, something eternal. When a person stumbles upon a message like this one, they might think they are simply passing time. Perhaps boredom led them here, or a misplaced tap on the screen, but that is merely the surface of the moment. Beneath it is something sacred, an orchestration of grace that we rarely recognize. God speaks not always with fire and thunder, but with a still, small voice. His ways are quiet, tender, and profoundly intentional. If a soul is listening closely, they will hear the whisper of heaven in the moments they least expect it. There is something holy about interruption. Throughout Scripture, God often revealed Himself not in the grand design of a human plan, but in the interruptions. Moses encountered the burning bush while tending sheep in the wilderness, a job he likely viewed as mundane. Saul was struck down on the road to Damascus in the middle of a journey he thought was righteous. Mary's quiet life was interrupted by an angel with a world-shifting message. Over and over again, heaven broke into earth, not through prepared speeches or sacred rituals, but through moments of divine surprise. And those interruptions changed everything. We are not so different from those ancient figures. We move through our days, immersed in duties and distractions, blind to the thin places where heaven meets earth. Our minds are clouded by constant noise, by the pull of screens, and by the endless pressure to be somewhere, do something, prove our worth. But just as God interrupted Moses with fire, He interrupts us with moments that seem ordinary. A conversation, a memory, or a message we almost skipped. These are not accidents, they are invitations. When you encounter something that stirs your spirit unexpectedly, do not dismiss it. It is a doorway, not a detour. Divine interruptions are not obstacles in your journey. They are the journey. They are the precise moments God uses to bring clarity, to redirect your path, or to awaken you from the slumber of routine. You may have thought you were simply browsing, but God has been watching, waiting, weaving together a moment where He could reach you without force, without fear, but with unmistakable presence. In the realm of eternity, time is not wasted. Every second matters, especially those that feel unplanned. The God who aligned stars and seasons also aligns moments, and He can use something as fleeting as a short message on a screen to shift the course of a life. You do not need to be in a church to encounter Him. You do not need a pulpit or a hymn. You only need to recognize that when something stops you, when something touches a place in you deeper than words, that moment may not be random. It may be divine. The idea that the eternal God waits is something that challenges the pride of the modern mind. We live in a world of urgency, where delays are considered inconveniences, and time is a resource not to be wasted. We imagine that those with power do not wait. They are the ones for whom others stand still. Yet the God who created time itself does something that defies the logic of kings and rulers. He waits, not from weakness or indecision, but from love. A love so complete, so patient, so undeserved, that it stands at the door and knocks without forcing its way in. There is something profoundly humbling in the image of God waiting. Imagine, for a moment, the creator of the galaxies, the one who calls stars by name, standing silently watching you live your life, not in judgment, but in hope, not in haste, but in longing, and not because he needs anything from you, but because he desires to give something to you, something your soul forgot it needed. His waiting is not passive. It is filled with purpose. Like a father scanning the horizon for the return of his son, God watches, hoping for a turn of the heart, for a moment of recognition, for the lifting of the eyes back toward home. This is not waiting that grows weary. God does not lose patience like men do. He is not pacing in frustration. His waiting is full of grace. He waits when we run, waits when we fall, waits even when we curse his name. He waits through our doubts, our distractions, our defiance. There is no clock ticking in heaven that limits his mercy. For every second we spent chasing what did not satisfy, he spent anticipating our return, preparing a welcome we did not earn. Many believe they have wandered too far, or that they've missed their chance, but this very moment proves otherwise. The fact that you are here, now, hearing these words, means he is still waiting. The door is still open. The window still carries the light of his gaze. He does not hide from those who seek him. It is often we who hide, ashamed, uncertain, busying ourselves with noise to drown out the quiet pull of God's presence. And yet, his love is not repelled by shame. It lingers near, even in silence. It hopes, even when we forget. It waits, even when we flee. To imagine a God who waits is to understand the nature of true love. Love that controls is not love. It is domination. But love that waits, that gives space for return, room for realization, time for change. That is the highest kind. That is the love that formed the universe and still bends low to sit beside you in this moment. When the world has given up on you, God waits. When you have given up on yourself, God waits, not because you are useful to him, but because you are precious. You were made in his image, and he will not discard what bears his likeness. If 2 hours have passed, and your heart was restless, it was not restlessness alone. It was divine patience working in unseen ways. God allows the delay not to punish, but to prepare, not to shame, but to invite. You were never forgotten. Not once, you were simply being waited for. And now that you're here, now that your eyes have caught this truth, you begin to realize what heaven has known all along. That love waits not because it must, but because it refuses to walk away. To be chosen by God is not the result of human achievement. It is not a reward for perfection or a prize for those who perform well under the gaze of religion. It is something far more mysterious, far more rooted in grace than merit. In fact, to be chosen is often to be surprised. God chooses not the polished but the willing, not the flawless but the open-hearted, and so the question arises, why would God choose someone who has failed, doubted, fallen, or even ignored him? The answer is simple, though uncomfortable to the proud heart, because he loves. Love, as defined by heaven, does not follow the same principles as earthly admiration. God's love is not impressed by resumes or appearances. He sees beyond the external. He sees into the marrow of who we are, the design he crafted before we even drew our first breath. And in that hidden place, beyond shame, beyond reputation, beyond fear, he sees someone worth redeeming, not because we earned it, but because we were made in his image. We are loved before we change, loved before we believe, loved before we understand. There is something deeply freeing in knowing that being chosen is not about being good enough. The world operates on a system of qualifications. If you are skilled, you are hired. If you are beautiful, you are praised. If you are strong, you are trusted. But in the kingdom of God, the qualifications are reversed. He says, you are mine, not because of what you've done, but because of who I am. That kind of choosing strips away fear and striving. It silences the voice that says you're too broken, too late, too far gone. When we begin to see ourselves through God's choosing, everything changes.
We stop trying to prove ourselves and start learning to receive. We stop striving for affection and begin to live from acceptance.
There is no need to earn what was already given. The burden of performance lifts when you understand you are already known and already loved. God did not wait for you to become perfect before calling you. He called you because His love is perfect enough to carry you through your imperfection. This truth also humbles, for to be chosen by God is not a title to boast in, but a responsibility to walk in. It means you are seen. It means your life matters. It means you have been handed a sacred task to walk in love, to speak with compassion, to live with purpose, to shine a light in the world's dark corners.
You may not feel ready, but readiness has never been a requirement. Willingness is. A willing heart in the hands of God becomes a vessel of miracles.
You were not chosen to sit quietly in fear. You were chosen to stand, to speak, to be who He called you to be.
And still, many resist this truth because they carry the weight of shame. They think of what they've done, where they've been, how often they've failed.
But God sees the end from the beginning. He knew every mistake you'd make, and He still chose you. He knew your weakness, and He still called you by name.
You cannot outrun a love that is eternal. You cannot disqualify yourself from a purpose that is rooted in grace.
You were chosen not because you are clean, but because He wants to cleanse you. Not because you were already found, but because He came looking for you.
That is the love that chooses. That is the love that never lets go. The invitation to return has always been present, though the noise of life often makes it hard to hear.
God does not lock His door. He does not withdraw His presence out of bitterness or exhaustion. He waits, and while He waits, the door remains open. Yet that door, while open now, is not guaranteed to remain open forever. There is a sacred urgency in the call to come back, not a fear-based panic, but a divine stirring in the soul that knows time does not stretch endlessly. There is such a thing as too late, not because God's love expires, but because human hearts harden and moments pass. To return is to remember. It is to pause and allow your soul to breathe again, to step out of the fog of distraction and come back to the place where you were always meant to be. It is not about returning to a religion or to rules. It is about returning to a person, to the one who formed you in the hidden places and who has never stopped watching over you. There is nothing more painful than being far from the one who truly loves you. And there is no greater relief than to come back and find Him still there, still waiting, still welcoming. This moment, this very breath, could be that threshold. You did not arrive here by chance. The interruptions of God are always invitations. Something greater than a video or a sentence is reaching for you. It is the voice that once called light out of darkness, now calling you out of hiding. The Father watches from the window not because He's unsure of your return, but because He knows it will come. And perhaps now it is happening. There is a cost to staying away, not because God will punish you for leaving, but because life itself grows colder the farther we drift from the source. The world is clever in how it distracts us. It keeps us busy enough to forget we are starving. It gives us pleasures that numb but never satisfy. It lets us scroll endlessly through lives that look better than ours while never allowing us to feel our own. Returning means waking up from that numbness. It means realizing that peace cannot be found in anything but the presence of the one who made you. But coming home doesn't require a speech. You don't need perfect words. You don't even need to be sure how to begin. All that is needed is willingness, a glance upward, a whisper of surrender, a cry in the dark. God does not measure the return by how dramatic it is. He celebrates even the smallest turning. If your heart moves even slightly toward Him, He rushes out to meet you. This is the miracle of grace. It doesn't wait for us to climb our way back. It comes running when we simply turn.
And still, the moment must be chosen. God does not force reconciliation. He does not drag the heart back by power. He woos it by love, and love always requires consent. You must say yes. You must come, not tomorrow. Not later, now, because now is holy. Now is possible. Now is open. Do not let familiarity breed indifference.
Do not assume that this call is one of many. It may be the one that changes everything. The world will offer you every reason to keep scrolling, to keep moving, to delay. But heaven offers one reason to stop, because the Father is waiting, because your name is still echoing in his heart, because he has kept the light on and the door open just for you, and now is your time to walk through it.